Amazing community. And not only welcome to those of you that are here in the sanctuary this morning, but also welcome to those of you that are at home, sending our love, and just grateful that you have invited us into your homes today. Thank you very much for joining us. Is there anyone here that is here for the very first time? Aha! Please, could you please stand? We have a gift for you. Welcome. Thank you so very much for being here. Awesome. So, a special little word, especially for you. We are a science of mind community that believes that there is one God, and that God is not a God that is outside of us, that's judgmental and doling out favors and punishments, but it's a loving, benevolent being that is within us and surrounding us, that we are connected to it in ways that can never be broken, and that it is always for us and never against us. And that the creative process that it has dominion over, because we are created in its image and likeness, we also have that creative process, and you'll get to hear a little bit about it today, in fact. So just welcome, so grateful that you're here. We do meet on Sundays and Wednesdays for services, and most of the other days for classes or special events. So come and join us whenever you're able to.
Okay, so now I'd like to share with you the reading for the day. And it is from the teachings of Adashante, and it is called, Who Are You? You are the body, you are beyond the body, mind, and personality, beyond all experience and the experience thereof, beyond the world and its perceiver, beyond existence and its absence, beyond all assertions and denials. Be still and awaken to the realization of who you are. In this realization of no separate self, the supreme reality, which you are, shines unobscured in all things, as all things, and beyond all things. Having returned to the formless source and transcended all separateness, do not stop or cling even to this source, but go beyond to the supreme realization which transcends all dualities, yet does not deny even a speck of dust. The enlightened sage abides as the eternal witness, wholly unconcerned, yet intimately engaged, resting beyond all definitions, neither clinging or transcendent freedom, nor entangled by the dualistic world, therefore one with all life. Living in the perfect trust of supreme realization, the enlightened sage has nothing to gain or lose, and naturally manifests love, wisdom, and compassion, without any personal sense of being the doer of deeds. Having abandoned all concepts and ideas, the enlightened sage lives as ever-present consciousness, manifested and manifesting in the world of time and space, that which is eternal, ever new and whole. In this unobscured realization, supreme reality shines consciously in all things, as all things, beyond all things. Shining unobscured, it penetrates the entire universe. Penetrating the entire universe, it knows itself as self.
And the reading was, Who Are You? Now I'm hoping I'm going to be able to answer some of that for you today. And I'm going to leave the singing to Babs. So I'll just say that right off the bat. It's May. It is May. Where has the year gone already? It is already May. So along with having a new song today, we also have a new theme. So the theme, as Babs said, is spiritual guidance and personal responsibility. And the name of my talk is the Self Knowingness of God. The Self Knowingness of God. And the underlying statement from Ernest Holmes' What We Believe statements is we believe that life is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. That's kind of a mouthful, yes? So, what does it mean? What does it mean? Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had the experience of reading some of Ernest Holmes when you first arrive and you have to read the same paragraph, 43 times because it's deep. It's deep and dense. So, we believe that life is a logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. What does this mean? What does this mean to our life? And how does it tie into the theme of the month, spiritual guidance and personal responsibility? Now, the bottom line is that all life and all form was and is created by the self-knowingness of God. This is one of the foundational teachings of the science of mind. Things are ideas in form. Things are thoughts that are in form. What else could it be, right? In the beginning was God. God and only God. There was nothing else visible. In the beginning was the Word. And out of that, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So there was an idea in the mind of God. That idea was spoken, and it was clothed in form. So there was and is only infinite possibility, limitless imagination, and eternal consciousness. All of that is the power and presence of God. Only God. Now, Ernest Holmes said, "Spirit makes things out of itself through some inner act upon itself. This inner act must be, of course, an act of consciousness, of self-perception, of self-knowing. What God knows is." Pretty simple. What God knows is. This has been called the Word of God and the self-contemplation of God. So this explains then how thoughts become things and is the inspiration behind the divine creative process. Now, if you were here a couple of weeks ago, you heard me describe this divine creative process, and I talked about how we often use the seed, the soil, and the plant as an analogy, that the spirit aspect of God has a thought. And it speaks this thought, which is the seed, and it is impressed upon the soul or the creative medium, which is the soil in our analogy. And through the soul or the law, the idea, there's an exact replica that is created in form of that idea. And then that thing in form now becomes the body of God, which is the plant in our analogy. So creation is the logical result of the outpush of life into self-expression. The bottom line is that manifestation of spirit is necessary. It is necessary for the manifestation of spirit if spirit is to come into realization. If it is to experience anything, it needs to come into form. Now, science of mind is a unique spirituality in which we see and understand that the physical universe is the outpicturing of the divine reality, and that it's a necessary part of the way that God experiences and expresses itself. The creative process is the eternal activity of spirit within itself, spirit passing into form, spirit passing into manifestation, and that this creative process is eternally happening. It is constant. It is never ending, always happening, always new, always again and again happening. Ernest Holmes says, all is infinite being and all is eternally becoming. Being is infinite knowingness. As the result of the infinite knowingness, there is an infinite becomingness or creation. So that infinite knowingness is that spirit aspect of God or the seed, and then it is eternally becoming through this creative process as it passes through the law and becomes in form a replica of that thought. So what does this mean for us? This is the creative process on the macro level, but what does this mean then for us on the micro level? So we are one of those divine emanations, one of those divine manifestations, right? We are created by and out of God. So we are one with God. There can be no separation. We are one with God, imbued with all that God is. So since the human spirit is one with the universal spirit, then it simply follows that all human thought is also creative and reenacts the divine creative process. So we enter into that exact same process. Ernest Holmes says, it is necessary that life clothes itself in form, else it would remain unexpressed. Creation is a result of the self-knowingness of the creative spirit. Consciousness clothes itself in form in the individual, in you and I, as well as it does in the universe, in the universal, in the exact same way. Now, through our conscious thinking and our subjective beliefs, or our unconscious beliefs, we reenact this continuum of the creative process. Thus, according to our thinking and our beliefs, we co-create the experiences of our lives. We co-create the experiences of our lives. Now, this is really the good news. Might feel sometimes like it's the bad news, but it really is the good news. So our thoughts tend to reproduce in our experience a reflection of the consciousness that's behind it. So whatever we're thinking, whatever is in our consciousness is what is going to be reflected, what is going to be manifested into form. Changing our consciousness and therefore changing our thinking will bring about a change in our experience. So if you can shift your consciousness and shift your thinking, you can shift the experiences. If you're not liking what you're experiencing, just change your mind, change your thinking. So this change can occur, however, only in accordance with our acceptance and our embodiment of the truth being, it is done unto you as you believe. So this then becomes our personal responsibility. This becomes our personal responsibility, and how it ties into the theme today is because we are invited to know this truth and to consciously create through this creative process. We are invited to become acutely aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs, and to consciously sow seeds that match the life that we want to be experiencing. We are invited to look within and to root out any thoughts, beliefs, and feelings that do not serve that vision, that do not serve that life that we want to live. All of this then explains how God created the universe and how we, through our divinity, create our own experience of life. Now today, I want to take this a little bit deeper. Ontology. Does anybody know this word, ontology? So ontology is the philosophical study of nature, of the nature of being, of the nature of becoming, of the nature of existence, or of the nature of reality. Ontology involves both involution and evolution. Now, involution refers to a situation in which a process or an object actually turns in upon itself. very simplified, involution deals with the process of spirit actually getting involved in matter, actually involving itself into the matter. So it's the process of life involving itself into substance, involving itself into form, into the material world. It is actually clothing itself in form. You've heard us say that often. And then it actually uses that form as a form of expression. Whatever that it involutes, then it's going to use that as an expression, a vehicle for expression. The word involution comes from the Latin word involvere. And in means in, and volvere means to roll. So quite literally, involution means to roll into or to envelop or to surround. Now, involution is the process of divine life rolling into matter. And it's the process of involving into substance or descending into matter so that it can express itself. Right? Without manifestation, it cannot express itself. So this term involution is spirit putting itself into the whatever form it is that it's creating at the time. Now, to speak of this in a way that you can really understand, think about the acorn and the oak tree as a metaphor. Derek Rydell, in his book called Emergence, says the great oak starts as an acorn, a small seed that we'd never expect to be able to bring forth such a mighty expression, capable of living for generations and providing food, shelter, shade, and so much more to hundreds of other creatures. Yet packed inside that seed is the invisible pattern perfectly designed to become the oak. And not just one oak, but offspring that could become forests of oak spanning eons. Inside that almost minuscule piece of carbon material as an infinite, eternal potential. Awesome, isn't it? It's just awesome. So it is with each of us. The seed that we arrived on the planet as already contained the material and the mechanics of its fulfillment. Already. We are created in the image and likeness of God and contain all that God is. So the peace, the joy, the creativity, the love, the wisdom, the abundance, and the compassion of God is who we are at our very core. That was already in there. We have within us everything that we need to become everything that we were created to be. Everything that we were created to be, everything that we need to fully express the divinity that we are. Like the acorn, the seed of our being contains all the ideas, contributions, and impact that our lives will ever make. And the ripple effect our lives have had and will have on the world around us. Like that acorn that creates the oak tree that then creates more oak trees, right? For eons and eons. Now the word evolution comes from the Latin ex volvere, and ex means out, and volvere still means to roll. I'm pretty sure. So evolution deals with the process of unrolling, or rolling out, right? It is the process by which the spark of life, after having been planted into substance after having been clothed in form, now uses the form to make it a perfect expression of the indwelling life. This process of perfection is the process of evolution. Evolution is what happens when the divine life, after having gotten involved with matter, sounds kind of funny, involved with matter, adapts itself and uses the form to perfect it. Let's go back to our oak tree, in case anyone's sitting there with a little furrowed brow. All the process of evolution requires is the right conditions. So Derek Raydell says, as the oak emerges, driving its roots deep and broad, its shoots rise up and out, reaching for the light. The deeper the roots go, the higher the branches can grow. The innate balance of nature understands that you can't have one without the other. If the tree strove for the light without grounding itself in the dark soil, it wouldn't be able to sustain its reach. A good drought would dry it out, a forest fire would burn it up, and a strong storm would topple it. Our human process of evolution, of emergence, is exactly the same. We too have to grow deep in order to reach our highest and our best. When we ignore our roots and simply focus on only our reach, we lose our center of gravity and the source of our sustenance. When we aren't grounded in a deeper place, in something that nourishes us beneath the surface of our very busy days, we become parched, burned out, and knocked down by the winds of change. When we stay firmly grounded in our awareness of the source of our being, we are capable of so much more than we could ever imagine. We are capable of taking great quantum leaps mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, creatively, in every arena of our lives. The more rooted we are in the truth of our being, the more connected we are with the divine expression of the divine that we are at our core. Connected to that expression. Now, there is a divine impulse within the acorn to grow. And when the conditions are right, the acorn always becomes an oak tree. It can be no other way. The acorn will never become something else. It's never going to be a poplar or a fir. It's an oak tree. That which was involute within it always fulfills its promise. It always fulfills its promise. It can't do anything else. Everything that the acorn needs is already within the acorn, and it simply unrolls or rolls out or evolves as nature designed it to do. Simple as that. So we too have within us an impulse to grow and to evolve. The impulse that we have within us is the same impulse that created the planets and the stars and the seas. It's the same impulse that created the beauty of nature. It's the same impulse that created the infinite variety of plants and animals. And it's the same impulse that created this amazing earth suit that we wear throughout our time on the planet. This too is our evolutionary process as humans if we are left to our natural course. Derek Rydell says, though, that in this there is somewhat of a challenge. And he says, alas, we rarely have that luxury of being left to our natural course. The collective consciousness of separation, limitation, and self-preservation has created a false sense of self and a deep disconnect from the seed of our true nature. So think about it, right? We often forget who we really are. We often get stuck in old patterns of being that reflect thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that are filled with lack, limitation, fear, doubt, worry, resistance. Often we get too caught up in the ideas of race consciousness, those conscious and unconscious beliefs, values, and perceptions that are embedded in our languages, our social systems, our religions, and our cultures. And we can't see anew. When we are all caught up in that, we can't see anew. So we can't change. For too long, too many of us have been fighting and striving and struggling to better our external lives, like, to have better homes and better cars and better jobs and better clothes and better relationships and better social status and better financial situations. Now, some part of us tends to believe that to nurture our external lives helps us to become better or smarter or wealthier or more whole, but it doesn't work that way. Evolution or emergence is not simply the improvement of whatever already exists. It's not that. Emergence and evolution is the arising of something entirely new. It means the emergence of capacities and ways of thinking that are unique and authentically new. Ways of being and ways of thinking that you have never been or thought before. This is evolution. And if there was no evolution, there would never be any change. And that's why it's so important that we look at our inner selves and look to the evolution of our inner selves. Listen for that spiritual guidance of that impulse. Listen for it and then listen to it. So this then is our personal responsibility in this process of evolution or emergence. This is our personal responsibility, and that is to see beyond the veil of our human perceptions. To stand firmly grounded in the truth of who and what we are. To root out and let loose anything, any thought, any feeling, any belief that creates resistance to the evolution of the divine impulse that is within us. To really look at the race consciousness, the race conscious beliefs that we have bought into, that we hold to be true, and see if we really still believe them any longer. Because we can let those loose too. Now the acorn is singularly focused. Singularly focused. Nothing deters it in this process of becoming the oak tree. Nothing deters it. It has clarity of intention. To have clarity of intention means to align oneself with the clear and singular purpose of the impulse itself. To have clarity of intention means to align oneself with the truth of who we are. And when we do so, anything and everything is possible. We are no different than that simple little acorn. No different. Anything is possible. To think that within that little acorn is the magnificence of an oak tree that spans hundreds of years, yes? To think that that is all inside of there, and we are exactly like that. So the purpose of life is to allow the divine essence to express itself in form. The higher self, the Christ consciousness, the spark of the divine within us lovingly pushes us to express the essence in our daily life, whether we are aware of it or not. This is that spiritual guidance. And expressing the essence is the goal of evolution, and that is our personal responsibility to ourselves and to life, because we are the only ones who can be us. I'm the only one who can be me. You are the only one that can be you. Fortunately, the ontological process of involution and evolution has a sacred plan within it. So the first phase is involution, as we talked about, a downward descent of the divine into manifestation, into the material world, into form. And the other half of this cosmic cycle is evolution, which is the rising up or the upward movement of energy and consciousness. It is a return back to the one, a return back to the divine, a return back to God. This return back to God, this evolution, is a process of consciousness, a returning back to the essence or back to the source, back to the oneness of God. And many of us are here today because of that kind of impulse. Yes? Like hearing ooh, there's got to be more to life than this. And the next thing you know, you're finding yourself in a Science of Mind community or going to Course in Miracles meetups or whatever it is that you're called to do, but this impulse spurred you on, gently pushed you to it. So in the model of involution and evolution, both directions are cosmically significant. Both directions are spiritually significant. Neither makes any sense without the other one. But you'll find that in many spiritual teachings or many faith traditions that they give us the impression that the upward ascent is more important, this return back to God. But the truth is that the descent of spirit into matter or into the material world or into form is just as spiritually important as the return back to God. Because it is the only way that God can express itself. It is the only way that God can experience. And we are here for that to happen. It is essential to the whole divine purpose and the creative will of God to manifest. So both parts, the ascent and the descent, the involution and the evolution, are important. Both are spiritually significant to us and to God. Now, in the end, sooner or later, in this lifetime or perhaps in another lifetime, there will be a moment in the life of every single person on the planet when the truth of a higher plan or the truth of a higher reality will start to dawn upon us. Will start to knock on our door. And the moment we start getting it, the moment we listen to it, the moment we allow it, is the moment that we step onto this spiritual path and allow the evolution of that which is seeking to be expressed through us to do so. And that's a wonderful day. Probably many days. We'll It's a process. Now, Derek Rydell asks, imagine what your life would be like if you woke up every morning knowing and feeling that you held within you everything that you could ever need. How would you interact with others? How much more open, generous, and loving and at peace would you be? If you knew that you held the design, the mechanics, and the power to create the life of your dreams within you, what new choices would you make? What bold actions would you take? The truth is that this is how we were created to live. And the time to step into that life is now, right now. Please repeat after me. I affirm that Spirit finds fulfillment in and through me now. I affirm that Spirit finds fulfillment in and through me now. Today I embrace and reveal. I embrace and reveal the greater expression of God that I am. The greater expression of God that I am. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. So I just invite us to turn within for a moment, to allow ourselves to turn towards that spark of the divine, the Christ consciousness, that impulse within us that was involuted by Spirit into this form, into the many forms. And I know that that connection is deep, that connection is strong, that it can never be broken, that through it we are connected not only to God and to life, but to each other in ways that can never be broken. And it is from this place of unity that I speak these words about and for each of us today. Truly knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, that we are imbued with everything that we need to create a life that we love. And that it is our birthright to use this creative process to do it. And so what I know for each of us today is that as we step more powerfully into our awareness of involution and evolution, our awareness of who we are at our very core, that this new way of being, this new way of thinking, comes to us with ease and with grace. That like all other spiritual practices, as we practice it, it gets easier. We get better. The demonstrations are quicker. So what I call forward by the power of my word is this deep awareness. A deep willingness to powerfully allow Spirit to express through and as us. A deep willingness to listen to that impulse. A deep willingness to follow it. To allow ourselves to become all that we were created to be. I'm so grateful to know this truth, so grateful to speak these words. So grateful that we get to use this creative process. And so I do so with gratitude and love and full expectation of the manifestation of my words. That they are clothed in form even as I speak them. And so I speak them and I release them, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of you to anchor them for yourselves and for each other by saying, "And so it is. Amen."